We do have the portrait platoon going on right now. So if you have some time, we have someone on a Cintiq out there as well as a traditional artist. If you do have time to get your portrait done, please partake. They do want to kind of keep busy this afternoon. I know it's been pretty light, and I know it's Friday too. Keep in mind too, at 5 o'clock they're doing a geek fashion show out in the quad, hosted by Student Affairs, if you guys are here. Also, you'll be seeing these comment cards going around. Please fill them out. Actually, if you do enter a comment in, there is a drawing for a free t-shirt at end of day today, so there's a little incentive for you to do that. Do we have anyone here for Flying Geek? Hello, welcome you guys. Thanks for being here, and being here for the weekend as well. Appreciate you. I'm actually happy to and very proud to announce the next presentation, which is the Team Delirium. This is actually a group called Team Catastrophe. Delirium was actually a group and a game that was selected as sponsor for this year's Game Developers Conference. So they're coming back from Moscone Center at San Francisco. They're really here to kind of discuss what their experiences were, what the obstacles were, their kind of trials and tribulations, and really those real personal takeaways once they were at the Game Developers Conference and received feedback from industry professionals. Delirium itself, the game, it's actually going to be launched on Xbox Live hopefully by the end of 2012, October, is that right? That's at least what our goal plan is? Yeah. Fantastic, guys. Delirium is a really interesting game. It's actually a platform 2D puzzler. It was developed in XNA, and it kind of plays on a gamer's psyche through really kind of interesting shock tactics, creating kind of creeping, ominous horror. It mounts through levels and really kind of moves into a very twisted version of a childhood home, forlorn woodlands, and finally into a menacing prison camp rife with danger. So, and it's actually got some really interesting graphics. They do have, what's your website, guys?
We have it up at the end.
You do? Oh, fantastic. They'll be able to show you firsthand. Without further ado, we've got Team Catastrophe talking about Delirium. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, guys. We're going to be talking about life at GDC, like we said. This is mostly going to be a little bit about what we learned, our experience leading up to it, and some of the things we experienced there, as well as a lot of tips that we'd like to pass on to all of you for if you want to go next year, which we really recommend. Real quick, we're going to do a very quick introduction of everybody. My name is Praley Dutzel. I'm the project manager and lead designer.
I'm William Tate, and I'm art lead.
I'm Brian Hartung. I'm the programming lead.
I'm Nigel Davis. I'm sound effects designer.
I'm Clifford Duke. I'm a programmer.
I'm Jonathan Lewis. I'm a game programmer. I'm William Kelshaw. I'm an artist.
I'm Elvin Aton. I'm an artist.
I'm Ryan Ellis, and I'm an animator.
I'm Cody Byrne. I'm a designer.
I'm Patrick Roy. And I'm
just an artist. There's no such thing as just an artist on Delirium.
And we also have a few members who weren't able to make it, since we do have distance members. All right, so the road to GDC. Once we were selected, we knew we had a lot of work ahead of us. We did have a demo with 2 levels, but we had to decide what we wanted to keep, how this was going to work, what we needed to polish up. And of course, polishing the game's art and animations and then doing as much play testing and bug testing as possible were the key things for us. We decided to narrow it down to the first level only for our demo that we released. This was mostly because time constraints, since we did have a deadline we had to meet. So, of course, here are the bullet points. Polish the game art, that was the main thing. Play test as often as possible. Meet your deadlines. Coming up to GDC, we also knew we wanted to have some kind of swag to give away, which is the stickers you see. We ordered 500 stickers. And I recommend if you're ordering swag for your team for GDC, do it as early as possible so it gets here. And then, of course, individual things we had to do. Everyone had to order their own business cards, polish up their portfolios, get resumes ready, all that kind of stuff on an individual level, on top of all the work we were doing for the game.
Yeah, so, polishing the game art was pretty intense. Coming up to the GDC deadlines we were trying to hit, we had to look at our scope management and just really see what we could cut, but not cut the quality. And we had these 2 levels that we were looking at bringing into the demo. And the first level is an intro. It's kind of a tutorial. It introduces you to the character and the setting and stuff like that. And the second level was more of the gritty part. So we wanted to give people a taste, but we wanted to give them like a taste that tastes good. We didn't want a bad taste. So we decided to really pinpoint all of our energies into that first level and polish that up by adding like environmental animations, polishing the character animation, really making it something that people wanted to look at instead of throwing a lot of garbage at them. We wanted to throw some good stuff, you know. And I'd say that's probably one of the most difficult parts of the production pipeline, is knowing what the ratio is for creating content, you know, quality over quantity. That like balancing those out is a really important part, especially coming up to something as professional as GDC. Yeah, we had our play tests and we have our stickers. If I can speak about business cards, yeah, that can often lead to a lot of stress. So even though you think, oh, I've got 2 months, I got a month. No, I mean, like, I hear about way too many stories of people being like, oh, I forgot my cards, or oh, I have to order some makeshift cards from a place in San Francisco really fast, and then my other cards are going to get there halfway through. No, you want to get them in your hands, like, however many, like, at least 3 weeks in advance, and then have a box that you keep them in, like, chained to your leg so that you don't forget them when you're on your way to the plane. As well as, like, quantity. I'd say if it's your first time going, I mean, and that's another thing, if it's your first time going, bring them. Like, even, you know, because there's no bigger, like, embarrassment, I'd say, at GDC than somebody being like, oh, can I get your card? And then you just being like, I'll write down my information for you. No, that doesn't work. You want to have your cards so that you can trade them with people. It's like the economy of GDC almost, people trading cards back and forth. So, but you definitely don't want to be pushy about it. So.
Here's some pictures of us around GDC, of course. The top you see, we have the stickers that we've been giving out. That was something we unfortunately didn't get them until we got to GDC. We had them shipped to a friend that lives in San Francisco, which means we didn't get them halfway through the week, which was a problem for us since we weren't able to give them out at the same time we gave away our DVDs. But once we did start giving them out, people were like, oh, what is this? This is really cool. And it kind of became a thing, like, what is this I and the D with the I? I don't know. And so that was really cool. People would see us wearing them and ask us about it. And of course, we gave out DVDs to everybody that had the demo on it, and we actually gave them all away in about an hour.
Like, all you had to do is say free stuff. And
yeah.
Like, and like we have these hard cases, which I don't know, like they're not commonplace nowadays. It's all about like flyers with codes on it. But we had these actual like game cases, and you just come up and you have like I had like a stack of them that went in literally a minute because I was just like free game, free game, free game, and people just were like taking them left and right. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So we got to really get ourselves out there with the demo, and people would play it, and we actually had a few people that knew about us already. They were like, hey, I saw you post something on Twitter. I'm here for my DVD. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So we recommend marketing before GDC, trying to get the word out as best as you can, because that obviously helped getting people there and interested in us. Some of the things we came across, we didn't have a booth, so we weren't able to really go hand things out on the expo floor or anything like that. So we actually had to stand outside and give them away, but that proved to be better because people were walking back and forth between the two buildings at the Moscone Center, and they were like, oh, hey, what's this over here? Let's go check that out.
Lots of foot traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, like one guy literally came up to me and was like, oh, it's like I've won the lottery. Like, people are so happy to just take this stuff, and it's awesome.
You also want somebody really charismatic. Like we had Elvin, who was really great with people, so he was just getting on everyone's good sides. Like, oh yeah, free game.
I give those mouse girls to get to the guys.
Yeah.
We also did manage to get a few interviews. We set this up prior to going to GDC. IndieGames.com actually interviewed us and asked us about the game. We gave them a copy of the demo. So hopefully we'll see that online soon. And then, Brian, it was you and Mike?
Yeah, Mike and I. We didn't really get an interview directly towards the game. It was for another game out there at GDC Play called Dusk Falling. that they really liked us after talking to them. We did an interview with them. So at the end of that, we basically got to talk about the game to them. So with their marketing and stuff, it'll be up with there, and then maybe it'll promote it too.
All right, so if you guys have any other questions about our experience, you can feel free to talk to us. But now we'd like to give you guys some advice on things that we've learned and what we'd like to pass on to you to make your experience better, or if you're going for the first time, get to know a little bit of what to expect. So getting the most out of GDC, these are just a couple of points. First off, you want to know why you're there. If you're there to get a job, be sure to be prepared for that. If you're just there to network and that's it, or if you're just there to hang out at the expo hall and check out games and get free stuff, which you should be doing other things too. But also, listen to developers. This is a huge event with tons of awesome people. You really want to talk to them and listen to what they have to say. They've been in the industry, you're not in it yet. Just take a minute to let them just take in everything they say. They can give you some really great advice. And be sure to ask lots of questions, whether it's because you're talking to developers and you might have a specific question on what they do or how they did this or overcame that, or if you're just hanging out at the career pavilion, and be sure to ask questions about your portfolio, what they expect when you're applying, things like that.
Yeah, knowing why you're there is a big thing, because a lot of people just go and they're just, it's so easy to get overwhelmed. It's enormous. This was their 26th year, I think, running GDC, and I mean it's the industry is blowing up, and it was over last year. It was only in 2 buildings, I think. This year it was in 3, like the entire Moscone Center. So you have to really plan ahead and set yourself, up for what you're going to be doing. So there's the GDC Play, there's the Expo Hall, which was kind of middleware stuff, the Career Pavilion, and then not to mention the hundreds of parties that happen afterwards. I mean, and that itself can be overwhelming to find out, because you're playing phone tag with all these people, like, this is happening when, this is happening when. You can use sites like Eventbrite and things like that to plan ahead. And I'd say start scouting 2 or 3 months in advance, because tickets go, and some of them go like that, and then some of them you have to pay for, so you got a budget for that. As well, there's also the issue of being 21, which can be kind of a hindrance, as some people might know if they went and they weren't 21. It's dealing with that is you just have to play things by ear. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's not worth it to go if you're not 21, but if you are 21, obviously you can get into more of the parties, and it makes it a lot easier. Yeah, and listening to the developers, I'd say that's why I would go, because I want to talk to the people. I want to get FaceTime with people who have made these games that I worship, and I think they're amazing and stuff. And you have to wait in lines, and you have to sit there, and but it's worth it in the end to really get the one-on-one with somebody, because they are there to talk to you. They don't blow you off. They're usually really nice guys. So.
And networking, don't forget to do that. When you talk to people, talk a little bit about yourself, what you do. You obviously don't want to be rude about it or anything like that, but if you get to talking to them and they're interested in what you do, say hey, would you mind if I give you my business card? Like Will was saying, business cards are basically the economy of GDC. You want to have them on you at all times, so that's definitely a big thing. And plus, the connections you make, as long as you keep up with them, they're going to be really valuable in the future. Who knows, that random guy you met on the street might become some awesome developer later on who could connect you to someone to get you a job. So you never know how follow-up is definitely key. All right.
Okay, so tips for artists. There's all the different realms of, game development, and artists are, I'd say they have their own agenda whenever they go into GDC. They have, other, sections. They can show a portfolio, but no one can really show their talents as kinesthetically as our artists can, and they do that by bringing their portfolio. Or tablets, as I did. I actually had an iPad, and I brought it in, and I'd heard that people this year wanted to see that, as it was easy to browse. You can flip through stuff, you can zoom in, if you make sure your resolution's high enough, and it makes things a lot more accessible. But as far as bringing your portfolio is concerned, I'd say that's the most important thing to have. Otherwise you're not going to get the direct feedback. You can ask for advice, but the ability to show your like a singular piece of artwork to the lead artist at Riot Games or Ben Thompson from Blizzard or something, and go there and talk to them, and they'll say, oh, this is great, but you should work on the spec map here or the proportions here. That's invaluable. Like, you don't get that anywhere else. I mean, and as well, if you're going to GDC and you have a company in mind, it's worth it to try and tailor a few of your pieces to that company. If they have a certain aesthetic, WoW has that hand-painted feel where like more of the Unreal games have a more photorealistic or slightly stylized feel. If you're going for either one of those, you're not going to want to have like Disney characters if you're trying to get a job with Epic Games. Yeah, well, it's that. Also, in portfolio reviews, I'd say just get as many as you can. Talk to everybody. Go up to every booth. Say, are there any artists here? They're like, no, well, there's this guy who's like, just let me talk to him. That's what you have to be like, because any feedback is good feedback. Like, these people know what they're talking about as well. So, and when you're tailoring your portfolio, I'd say the most impressive portfolios I saw, and this was something that I didn't really account for, and I am now in the future, it's probably the most important lesson I took away from GDC as far as an artist is concerned, is process. Process. Like, the ability to show from point A to point B, like how you got from this like sketch idea to the finished thing. And so like these people with huge journals or like notebooks, showing their concept, their color palettes, their ideas, their silhouettes. These were the people who I feel like they were the ones who walked away with the most opportunities, like art tests and stuff. And while not everybody hires on the spot, there's still the ability to stand out. And like I just said, art tests are another, there's kind of like the way that you know that you're sort of in there. But yeah, and while you're getting reviewed, make sure that you ask questions on what you could improve on. Making sure that you are getting all the feedback. Don't feel rushed, because a lot of people have the tendency, especially if there's a line behind you, to feel rushed. But I watched somebody give like a 25-minute portfolio review, and that's worth, it's priceless, I guess, because like an artist who has been in the industry for 20 years can look at something that you worked on for 2 hours and extract all this information from it. So don't feel rushed, and just take your time, ask all the questions, think it through. Don't let yourself get intimidated, especially because it can be an intimidating experience to see all of these people who are practically celebrities in the gaming industry. Yeah, be proud of your work. Don't down yourself. Don't go into it with the idea of, oh, this piece isn't so good, like stuff like that. Make sure that you let them speak about what your work is. Don't let your work speak for itself. They'll tell you what they think. Don't worry about that. They'll make sure to do that. And then most importantly of all, take the feedback you get. Take it, like maybe write down some notes or just take mental notes, and then apply it. Make sure that you go home and you capture that feeling of just like, I just know being on the career pavilion floor, I had this feeling that I wanted to bottle and sell to people because it was just this initiative, like this fiery initiative that you don't often feel whenever you're creating stuff, and it's an insane like feeling to just want to make stuff and make it better. You get there and within 5 minutes you're already just like, whoa, I want to be the best because all these people around you are awesome. It's just a fantastic atmosphere, and to keep that attitude, especially when you get home and you're working on your stuff in a solo environment, I'd say that's invaluable. So yeah, and that's about it. Any other artists have anything to say? No?
You covered it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so next we're going to have some of our new people who, this is their first time going to GDC. Only about, I think, 4 of us have been to GDC previously, so, we're a little more used to it. So anyone of you guys who wants to talk about this, that this is your first time going, go for it.
I'll go first. It was my first time at GDC. I've never been before. I've heard stories. My brother and Crayley told me a ton about GDC. And one of the things I really liked about it was the fact that it can be very personal as well as professional. So I got to talk to one of the grad students here at UAT who's a distance student, and we got on the topic of sound design, and he does sound design as well, and we had a good 30-minute talk, and I learned so much from him, just odd little tips and hints that I would never have thought of. And you can learn that too by talking to the professionals, as they know these little hints and odd things that you don't usually know. And also, I'm not just a sound designer, I'm actually more of a level and game designer. And so when I went there, I also got to talk to some people at Blizzard and other places, and they gave some really good hints. I know for designers, they say they want to see a lot of individual work as opposed to group work, because they want to see how you work as yourself, and they want to see small things. So one of the things I said, I was like Will says you need to be proud of your work. I made a Pathfinder class, and the guy I was talking to was like, oh, it's amazing. You can keep doing that. Keep working on different things like that. And I was surprised that he wanted to see something as lovely as just a little Pathfinder character. So you definitely want to put your best foot forward. You want to not be embarrassed, not fanboy out over them, but you still want to show that you belong in the area with the people.
Yeah, for me, it's not only just my first time going to GDC, it's also my first semester. So I didn't have a portfolio as an artist to bring. I had a few pieces, but they weren't done. I can say that much for sure. So going there, it was more or less for me just getting the layout of most how GDC is at, and getting out to see how GDC is just different from any of the other conventions or expos.
Yeah, and I'd say that's worth it. I went last year, and I'd say your first year can be just to scope things out. Just get an expo pass. Don't go crazy because it can flood your systems, and there's so many talks. There's hundreds of talks that happen in the span of 5 days, as well as the tutorials and summits and all that stuff. But if you just go your first year and just scope things out, look at how they are, you'll go the next year with an idea in mind, sort of a more refined game plan that will allow you to really get in there and know what you're doing.
You guys.
Okay. My first time going to the GDC, I would have to admit, I was quite nervous because I knew what to expect, but not to the full extent. So when I went there, it was a full house, it was a full crowd. So I was kind of excited to be there. And when interacting with developers, whether it's indie developers or major game developers, you still have a straight conversation. Just either way, you can start out casual, or just start off by complimenting their work. And don't be afraid to compliment their work. But of course, yeah, Nigel said, don't go full fanboy on them. And then you can ask them questions like, what was your process of doing it, or what was the team size, and you just ask them very specific questions of how they did this. As you ask them more about it, they get really interested to say what their process is. So as they're saying it, it's really interesting, and you really get to know them well. And I remember we were passing out just stickers, just all the way to the Scone Center. I was just passing out some stickers, and I talked to a few people, and some of them weren't really in the game industry. But I remember it was just passing out a sticker to some guy from AMD. I sat down to take a break and figured that he sat down as well. So passed him out a sticker, and we were just talking for a bit. And as you talk more, you really get to know people. And don't be afraid to lead on to a conversation, or just ask more questions, because you get a better connection that way. They know you better. And if you present your game, they're more interested. They're more than happy to find out what is it about.
Yeah, and that's another thing too is. Whereas there's the career pavilion, which are full of the suits, the sort of more corporate side of the gaming industry, you can also go over to the IGF booths or GDC Play. And those are the people who are far more on our level. Those are the people who have only been in the industry maybe, well, some of them are pretty intense vets, but they're the ones who took maybe the low road, and they're kind of under the radar, as it was put to me at one point. But nonetheless, they're the ones who I find the least intimidating, and like especially going to GDC Play, these are people who are just like they're trying to put their game out there. GDC Play was a program that you could pay $3,000 and they would give you a booth actually in this area, and it made it very accessible to other people, just the public, that anybody could submit a game and they would approve or deny it, and then you could just go and talk to these guys who are just genuinely psyched that anyone would want to talk to them about their game in the first place. So, and they'd push all these flyers on you and stuff, but it's all really great. I'd say that was probably the most enjoyable part. You just feel like you just walk in there and it just feels like a breath of fresh air, especially after going into the career pavilion where everybody's like, what's your portfolio like? Okay, do this, you did this wrong, get out of here, you don't get a job. But, and then going over there and they're like, oh my gosh, look, we have these stickers, take our stickers. So anyways, yeah.
I think for me, going in, I really didn't have an idea. I'm more like, I'll cross that bridge when I get there type of person. And then when I got there, I was like, oh, this bridge is kind of bigger than I anticipated. And so, going to the career pavilion, talking to people and talking to artists and seeing what they want to see. One of the things I noticed, we'll point out, they want to see your progress. If you want to do character design, they want to see work in a sketch for that character. How did you get to that final sketch for that character, for that model, for that character? How did you choose your color palette? Why did you choose your color palette? They wanted to see a lot of things that I didn't really think about and tended to overlook, and it was more of a inspirational experience as a learning experience for me, and it really helped me kind of grow as an artist and know what I need to do.
I'd just like to give a few general tips. Number one is comfort is key. You're not going to be a very happy person if you're walking around on the floor with some stiff suit and some shoes that make your feet hurt. This is pretty much what I wore around because it's buttoned up, but I was comfortable and I was able to make good representation of people. And then just kind of know what you want to talk about, because some people kind of go there, expecting, oh, these people are talking to me and ask me a whole bunch of questions. Well, you should be able to talk to people and say, oh, hey, this is my game. I have this game is define it, instead of just kind of stumbling with your words. And then have something to maybe make people remember you, or just when you talk to people, be confident. Have something that they'll remember you for. Most of us, they'll remember Delirium. But if you're just walking around the floor and they don't know you, the first day I was there, I had an impulse buy. I bought a top hat. I saw somebody else with a top hat there, and it kind of helps. Random things will help you make connections. It might just be you're from the same area, or somebody likes to sell hats. But having the confidence instead of sitting there stuttering is definitely helps make a great impression. And then kind of on the business card, and have them early. But another tip that you may or may not know is leave the backside of your business card completely blank. Leave it white. Leave it so you can write on it. So when people get your business card, they can write down little information about you, so they remember you, and you can do the same for them.
Yeah, for the background business card, when I go with my business card to one of them, they're like, oh, your business card is great because the bag is blank and I can remember you for who you are. So they're like, oh, I can't write on this. I'm just going to pick up this.
And I guess more business card advice. Just make it stand out, but don't be a show off. I mean, I've heard lots of different theories, but the main theory that I've heard is don't change the shape, the overall shape of your business card, because you might think you're being edgy, but I've heard so many sources since I got back from GDC who said, in podcasts and things, actual professionals saying, yeah, just do those cards out. The ones that were the quarter size or the slightly bigger ones. No, those aren't worth your time. So you can clip the corners or change little nuances of the silhouette of the card, but just keep the basic framework the same. What you put on the card should basically be, your contact information, obviously. But if you're an artist, put a nice piece of artwork on there. Put something that exemplifies what you do. Example is I created my cards with the idea of the process in mind. So I put character silhouettes at the bottom, and So this sort of gave the idea that I think of the character silhouettes as a 3D artist before I go into anything else, which I wanted to cement in the idea of anybody who's thinking of, as an idea for anybody who's thinking of employing me. Another big thing, take advantage of the resources you have at this school. I found out, you know, like a month in advance that we have a free laser cutter / engraver. Use that, okay? That's like a $3,000 to $5,000 piece of equipment right there that you can use for completely free. Getting, you know, if you provide your own paper, they'll put it right there for you. And I used some, like, I think it was like 200-pound stock, and it cut it right there. You can engrave and do all that stuff. You just have to provide the image to the bindery, and they'll do it for you. Whereas the amount that I printed, I think I had like 100 or so. Which was a sufficient number, would have cost me, you know, probably about $100 if I ordered it online, maybe more. You know, people charge top dollar for that sort of thing, especially the fact that I could do it myself and oversee the whole process. You know, you get cards back sometimes and it's not what you wanted, but you know, that's a personal preference thing. As well, quantity is another thing. I'd say if you're an artist or somebody who's just kind of starting off, you don't plan on doing a whole ton of networking, I'd say 100 to 200 cards will cut you, you know, that'll be good. But if you're like a producer or somebody who's going to be going to every party you can, tossing your cards out like crazy, I'd say maybe aim for like 400 cards, because I've had friends who have given out 300 cards, ran out, and then didn't know what to do with themselves. So, I mean, so yeah, I think that's.
Say one more thing. One point on networking is, like Will said, use the school as to your advantage. I know Brady saw one of the alumni at a party, and she was able to sneak a bunch of us up to a VIP party. So do talk to other people at school. If you see somebody you have a class with, even if you don't talk to them that much, just say, hey, hi, and they can maybe introduce you to whoever they're talking to. That's really important to talk to everybody at UAT, because we are a community and you need to work with us, because we can help each other as we try and get into the industry, which is a really big hurdle to hit. So I just said something.
These are a few of our takeaways. We just wanted to put it all on a bullet point for you to look at. One of the main things is go to GDC as many times as you can. If money is kind of a big issue and you're not sure if you can make it, just go for a student or an expo pass. You can also volunteer, which is an amazing experience. It also lets you go to watch the sessions, and you get to work, and it's kind of
Doesn't it give you an all-access pass?
Yes.
Yeah.
All-access pass includes access to the GDC vault, which has
Yes.
recordings of all the sessions.
It's fantastic. I recommend doing it. And then there's also GDC Online in Austin, which is a smaller event, and it's a lot easier to talk to the speakers after their presentation. You can go up and ask them questions, whereas the big GDC, if you go to a presentation and there's usually a line of about 50 people in front of you trying to say the same thing, and it doesn't work out very well. So I recommend going to GDC Online too. There's also a volunteer program there, and you can also go to things like IndieCade. Cody's been to IndieCade a couple times now.
There's a few people at the school who frequent that convention who you could talk to. Tyler Coleman would be one of those people in the white background.
And remember that it is a professional event. Even if you're at parties, if you are over 21 and you're drinking, keep it low.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Control
cause
yourself.
a scene. Yeah. Just remember to act professional at all times. You don't want to be known as that stupid guy who was really annoying and made a fool of himself.
That's a way to get yourself put on the list.
Yeah.
Really quickly.
Yeah, like we said, don't forget your business cards. If you do, well, that sucks for you. It's really important to bring them though, and if you have like old ones, be sure to bring those just in case you do run out. Let's see. Yeah, one thing we really pushed for the team was to have a LinkedIn account before we went to GDC. We actually had a couple of our meetings where we just talked about GDC preparation, what to expect, so we could get everybody kind of ready as best as we could for the ones of us who have gone. And LinkedIn is a huge thing. Everybody adds you on LinkedIn. Add your fellow classmates, add your professors. And then once afterwards, when you're sending out follow-up emails, say, hey, here's a link to my LinkedIn. If you wouldn't mind adding me, that would be great. And of course, send follow-up emails. Those are very, very important. The connections you make with the people that you meet at GDC are very important. But if you don't say anything, if you just give them a business card and never respond, send them an email or anything like that, they are not going to remember you at all. Take the time to make that extra effort, because it does show. I can tell you I've met a lot of students who do not ever send follow-up emails, and then I sent them one and they're like, what do you want? So don't be that guy. When you're going, if it's your first time going to San Francisco, or if you're going to Austin or wherever, plan ahead, research into the area. You'll be doing a lot of walking, so bring, like Cody was saying, bring comfortable shoes.
Yeah, everything is pretty much in walking distance.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're, the Moscone Center is, the Moscone Center itself is a really nice place, and it's next to it's next to the Nordstrom Center and all these other really nice shopping centers. But the areas surrounding it are, you know, they have a reputation. So like Mission Street and certain areas, there are just streets you don't walk down past dark. So, you know, it's worth it to look into what the safest route to get to and from places might actually be.
Walking groups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good one. Yeah, always walks with somebody because and then don't make a fool of yourself in public. out next to because there's a lot of homeless people and there's things like that. So just, you know, stay in groups. That's a big. Dress appropriately.
Stay away from too close.
Yeah, dress appropriately. There's a big one. Okay, if you're an artist, don't wear a pantsuit or like a crazy thing that, you know, like a bow tie and stuff. I mean,
Coattails.
I think that applies to anyone.
yeah, well, pretty much anybody. Our producer stressed to the maximum, which Mike Broadbent, who isn't here right now, he's a distant student, but he stressed that we dress like this, or, you know, semi-casual, you know, a button-up shirt maybe, or some nicer pants. You know, don't walk around with your 15-year-old Ghostbusters shirt on with holes in it and stuff. You know, make sure that you look presentable, but don't, you know, overdo it. So.
Right, and of course, have fun. Remember, it can be a really stressful time, especially if you're searching for jobs, and it can be really easy to overlook, oh, hey, I'm just here at this conference, and this is just more work. Don't get into that mode. Of course, you want to have fun with it, and that's why there are things like the after parties, is to let you loose and have some fun, enjoy it a little more than just the daily grind.
It'll be funny whenever you meet your professional, a professional for the first time who's having more fun than you are. And they'll give you certain opinions about certain people at their companies. And you have to keep that to yourself after that, but, you know, that's always a good experience.
I know Curly and I got to meet the lead animator at BioWare, and he was having way more fun than neither and I at Westware. We were just kind of tense and shook up because it's a big deal, and he was casually having his fourth drink or something.
It was a lot more than that. Yeah. So I guess we'll start questions. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and enjoy the stickers. If you want more, we have them.
We have too many.
Yeah.
Take them.
Also, we have our link to our development blog, so if you're interested in the game, you can check that out. And we'll also be in room 106 from 2:30 to 4:30. That's our usual meeting time, so if you have extra questions or want to check out the game, stop by. Also, if you are a 2D artist, we are looking for you, so come by if you're interested.
Yeah, so any questions? You have a question, Tyler?
I do have a question. You guys talked about a lot of the individual experience, but I'd like to hear experiences for Delirium as a project.
As a project? Yeah, well, that was mainly what we were talking about whenever we interviewed with indie games, and we met up at least once or twice a day as an entire group to kind of talk with each other, see what everybody was, you know, doing, get out there, and of course we had we had intended to draw the process of handing the games out throughout the entire convention, but everyone took our games within literally an hour. So That didn't last as long as we thought it would, but you know, that's not exactly a bad thing.
And it was a really big team building effort. Like, we all went out to lunch and dinner and things and hung out. And everybody got to know each other a little bit better. Especially, it was really good for the distance students because, you know, we don't really see them ever. So that was a great experience. And just making sure that everybody got together at least once a day.
Drew on some pizza boxes.
I know we spent one day, we dedicated one day to the entire team working as a group. So like we all had with our shirts on, we came in, we were getting out business card stickers, all that stuff. But we pretty much said no one's really allowed to do anything by themselves individually. It was all about the project, which is really great because I mean these guys are really awesome. They do a lot of really hard work, and I just sit there and make sound effects with my mouth. So.
The sound effects guy you met, was it Sean?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Sean is great.
Anything else?
Did you guys try to ramp up hype for the game with any of the people that you met?
Did we do? Sorry, repeat that.
Just try to like ramp up hype or like actively promote Delirium.
Oh
itself.
yeah. I mean, we obviously wanted to do some viral stuff, but the stickers are themselves we kind of hoped would be sort of a more viral thing. You'd see these stickers around and come and talk to us because we have the shirts. Yeah, we just tried to get people here psyched for it and talk with people there as much as possible. Like we got there actually 2 days early. We had expo passes, but the school booked our tickets in our hotel that we'd arrive that Monday. But there isn't really anything to do with an expo pass on Monday or Tuesday. So we had those days to just literally just network as much as possible and talk to as many people because we didn't have to worry about going to talks or anything like that. So that provided a good deal of time for us to just focus on the project.
And then when we give out the DVDs, people would be interested in asking us what it's about. I remember stopping multiple times and explaining the game to people.
Yeah.
And they get more interested.
We really had to work on our elevator pitch, stuff like that. So.
People are genuinely interested when they get your game. They're like, oh, that sounds like a really awesome game, and I want to try it out. These people actually want to see these creative styles.
And the uniforms helped, I think. Yeah. I mean, we were all there in this like cluster of like black like t-shirts. And yeah, and just throwing our stuff at people, and I think that really helped our synergy.
And talking about the game is a great point, like into conversations. Like you'll talk to indie developers, and they'll be like, "Oh, what do you do? Do you make games?" They're like, "Actually, I do. Why don't you check out this?"
Yeah, it's a lot better. Like being on a game project and being there feels a lot more legit than being just a student there because you have the ability to say, yeah, I'm working on these projects right now. I mean, and people like to ask about horror games for whatever reason. Like you'll say, yeah, I'm working on this puzzle game and an action shooter. Oh, and this horror game is why I'm sponsored. I'm sponsored by my school. They're like, horror game? What's it about? And so, yeah, you get to tell them all about that.
They also seem to really like 2D side scrollers. A lot of them stated to me that they missed 2D side scrollers.
Yeah, yeah. Like my thing was think Scary Monkey Island. And everybody there, like all the vets were like, oh, Monkey Island, that's a game. Yeah, so.
Any other questions? We don't bite, promise.
All right.
Tell us more about these so-called parties.
Parties? Yeah. There was,
we missed World of Tanks, I know that. I was pissed about that.
Yeah, but it's like parties are a big part of GDC. Sorry,
that was an old
No, I went to a few. I mean, and it's a completely different experience for every person in the realm of game development. Because some people are obviously not as good at networking as others. So it's nice to be with friends who are, and they will take the time to point out, oh, and this is my friend, blah, 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 who does this. And even if you're like kind of sheepish or you have, problems getting yourself out there. So yeah, make sure that you're with somebody who's a little more,
outgoing?
Yeah, outgoing. Perfect. Yeah, and make sure to keep your ear to the ground, try and scope out whatever you can, and be flexible because have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Because where one party might be filled up, there might be one 3 blocks away that is not and has this many devs at it and all this stuff. So also don't be pushy. you know, if somebody's like at a party and they're talking to other people or something like that, don't be rude and obnoxious. That kind of goes without saying, but if they're not interested in talking to you, then they're not interested in talking to you, and that's how it is. It almost goes the same way with business cards. I mean, you can offer your business card to whoever you want, but if they, you know, if they decline or they say, oh, I don't have room, or something like that, take the hint and just, you know, walk away. So, yeah.
Yes,
Make a
Tyler.
suggestion for the cards as well.
Yes.
Don't hand people cards when you first start talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
That definitely screams I'm a student or I'm, you know, wet behind the ears here. Like I heard the producer of 2K Games was telling about, or one of the associate producers was talking about like this guy. He was at the this food court with his friends, and this guy knew they were the producers for 2K. And so they were sitting at this table, and he was sitting, and he sat down like 3 seats away from them, and he had his card holder in his hand, and he was like shuffling about, like doing this awkward like staring thing, and he like said, "What's up?" Just don't be weird, okay? Don't be weird about it. I mean, so yeah, just be a normal person.
You should read the mood of the people you're trying to talk to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like me, Ryan, Cliff, and Nigel talked to the game people, and they were kind of drunk. So we just kind of stood there until they were like, "Oh, who are you guys?"
Yeah, there's a certain hour that you get to where at the parties where everyone is sufficiently, you know, loosened up. They're all ready to talk to whoever. Everybody's their friend. So, I mean, and staying sober during those periods is obviously a definite advantage. And I'd say that's the overall moral of the story.
What do you?
I was gonna say, with the parties, sometimes don't jump right into like portfolios and stuff like that. Try to be more casual.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
about other things, like outside the game industry. Be more casual. Then they'll like you and then start talking about
Yeah,
you.
people don't like being looked at as, you know, meat or,
Talk
you know.
about their kids. They love talking about their kids. If they have kids.
If they have-
Or cats.
They know
What are we doing on here?
I think we're good.
Okay, yeah, well, I think that's about it. It was a great opportunity, and we are very thankful to UAT for letting us do this.
Yes.
And thank you guys for coming and watching us.